great white sharks are among the most famous fish in the sea, but a key detail about their lives has remained a mystery.
For some people, encountering a colossal shark is the stuff of their most stricken nightmares, but for others, the dream of meeting a massive shark is what motivates them to get out of bed in the morning. But whether you love them or hate them, sharks are amazing creatures, and there are some insanely big ones out there. From a world-famous old lady shark with a whale-sized appetite to a 500-year-old shark that eats polar bears, here are the 20 biggest sharks in the world ever recorded. Number 20. American researchers tag great white sharks off Nova Scotia coast. It's a pretty rough hand to be dealt when you're a gigantic 13-foot-long shark, and somehow you manage to get bitten by an even bigger predator. This massive shark was part of a research trip by scientists off the coast of Nova Scotia, and that's when they hauled a creature out of the ocean that they managed to tag and take down a whole list of useful information about the animal before releasing it back into the water. Named Vimy by the researchers, this shark had a huge wound on his head. It was a bite mark from another shark. The scientists said that it was likely another male shark in a fight over a female, or even perhaps the female herself objecting to Vimy's attempts to mate with her. They then added that shark mating is generally really violent and often results in multiple bites, which are usually to the head. Just imagine if humans were like that. Whatever did bite the shark, one thing's for sure, it had to be pretty hefty itself in order to fit Vimy's sizable head in its mouth. Number 19. Fisherman catches 13-foot hammerhead shark in Florida. Florida fishermen made the evening news with their catch of the day a few years ago. The lucky guys had an encounter with an extraordinary 13-foot-long hammerhead shark in the waters off Sanibel Island in Florida. The three guys filmed their amazing catch as they managed to bring the shark into shallow water and get a look at the fruits of their labor. The fishermen had been out in the Gulf of Mexico using the hammerhead's favorite food, a stingray, as bait, all with the hopes of grabbing a big catch. However, when they realized that they had snagged a gigantic shark, they just couldn't believe their good fortune. Dude, he's huge. Once they got it close to the beach, they saw that it was a hammerhead. The hammerhead caught the line about 200 yards out to sea, so the men wrestled the magnificent animal for more than half an hour to get it close to the beach. They then got their epic photos and released it back into the ocean. The guys were overwhelmed with the sheer strength of the massive shark and thoroughly enjoyed their unique close-up experience with the beautiful beast. That shark doesn't look quite so thrilled about everything, though, does it? Number 18. Largest great white shark ever recorded seen feasting on dead sperm whale near Hawaii. Remember the big old lady, the great white who was named Deep Blue? Well, researchers who saw this footage think that it's probably her. When a film emerged of a huge great white shark gorging on a whale carcass in the waters of Oahu, scientists who tracked the big shark stated that it was Deep Blue who did it. When this shark was previously recorded, it was near Guadalupe Island off the coast of Mexico, about 2,400 miles away. But although it may seem like a long-distance journey for a shark to take just for a bite to eat, apparently great whites are able to cover enormous distances. Some have even been recorded traveling as far as 12,400 miles. This special sighting has given researchers some valuable insight into the migration patterns of female great whites. The extraordinary footage of the 2.5-ton Deep Blue snarfing down a whale-sized snack has had people gossiping about the big shark. Her belly looks particularly swollen, but some people suggest that perhaps she was just expecting, while others thought that eating a whale would probably give you at least a little bit of belly bloating for about a week. The dead sperm whale was quite the attraction in the underwater community. Lots of other sharks would turn up to the buffet for a little nibble, giving marine biologists more evidence that great white populations in the North Pacific are increasing in numbers. So, perhaps it won't be a spot that I'm going to go for a swim in. Number 17. Deep Blue, one of the biggest great white sharks ever filmed. One of the biggest great whites that's ever been captured on film, has also captured many imaginations in her time on this earth. The gargantuan great white known as Deep Blue measures an estimated 20 feet long, which is pretty massive when you consider that an average great white measures between 11 and 15 feet. Either way you slice it, it's all pretty big. This extraordinary animal has stunned marine biologists who are just fascinated by not only the size of the magnificent creature but also by her age, believing that she may be more than 50 years old. Great whites continue to grow as they age, so this huge shark will simply keep getting bigger and bigger the older she gets. The Old Lady of the Sea was filmed in an amazing encounter in 2013 off the coast of Mexico's Guadalupe Island in the Pacific Ocean. Scientists have managed to tag Deep Blue, so they've been able to track her movements. I, for one, am kind of relieved that somebody's keeping tabs on this big scary shark, so at least there might be a warning if I'm about to take a paddle in the Old Lady's snack bowl. Number 16. Marine biologist swims with 20-foot-long great shark. While spotting a great white shark would have most of us swimming extremely fast in the opposite direction and running for the safety of dry land, There's one woman who just couldn't believe her fortune when she happened upon the gigantic and super famous great white shark known as Deep Blue. Yet, this shark certainly gets around, doesn't she? A marine biologist with the uncannily appropriate name of Ocean Ramsey swam with the old lady of the sea off the coast of Hawaii and said that her incredible encounter filled her heart with joy and took her breath away. That's a brave woman, because I'd certainly be breathless, but more likely from all the sprinting I'd be doing as I ran away in complete terror. Although Ramsey maintains that great whites are really just misunderstood and they swim around people all day long without eating them, that's good, I guess. She does reckon that in all her years of studying the behaviors of sharks, she's rarely seen them make a mistake with what they're eating. Now, I can't determine how reassuring that really is. Great white sharks don't necessarily want to eat people. That much is true, and shark bites are usually just a taste test to see if the creature in the shark's mouth is one that they actually want to consume. Apparently, they don't like the taste of people, but even if a shark only gives you a little sample nibble, that bite will likely as not leave you sleeping with the fishes anyway. Now it's time for today's topic. During what was supposed to be a routine whale hunting expedition, a group of Japanese whalers experienced something far beyond their expectations. As they hauled in their nets, anticipating the familiar sight of a large whale, they were greeted by an astonishing and terrifying sight. Emerging from the depths was not their usual catch but a predator that hunts whales, a massive great white shark. This was no ordinary shark. At over 40 feet in length, it was much larger than any great white shark they had ever encountered. Its enormous mouth, lined with rows of sharp teeth, was wide open, revealing the true apex predator of the sea. The whalers could scarcely believe their eyes. Known for hunting seals and other marine animals, this colossal shark was clearly targeting something even more substantial: whales. As the crew worked quickly to untangle their nets and release the giant predator, they couldn't help but feel the chilling reality that they weren't the only hunters in these waters. The great white, a creature of legends, had silently stalked the same ocean depths they had. This encounter left the crew wondering, what other massive predators are lurking below, hidden in the dark waters, silently stalking the seas? Number 15. 500-pound shark caught by fishermen off the coast of Cornwall. Fishermen in Cornwall are more used to hauling in mackerel than a massive monster fish, so when they caught a huge porbeagle shark, they were at least a little surprised. The 500-pound porbeagle, measuring more than 8 feet, took fishermen 2 hours to reel in. After they had a good look at it and took plenty of selfies, of course, they then let the big fish go. Although porbeagle sharks like this one are widely distributed throughout cooler and temperate waters across the globe, these guys are at risk of overfishing, and their population suffered from their reputation as a good source of shark meat. It turns out that, although still quite unusual to catch such a big shark, these animals are becoming more and more common along the British coastline. Not considered to be a risk for humans, they generally swim in deeper waters a couple of miles away from land. However, the porbeagle has been showing up with increased regularity in the area, especially around Devon and Cornwall, down in the southwest of the country. Warming seas, as a result of climate change, are seeing an overall shift in the migratory pattern of many kinds of sharks, and it's estimated that UK waters will even see great whites and hammerheads within the next 30 years. Number 14. Hammerhead Shark. It's one thing to catch a big OL shark. It's quite another to break a decade-old state record while doing so. At that point, you've pretty much just caught a place in the history books, and isn't that what we're all looking for in this life? Even though, most of us aren't out there catching sharks. Tim McClellan, however, has been catching fish for decades. Still, none of his experience could have prepared him for what happened in 2017. McClellan was taking part in the Tackle Time fishing tournament in Texas City when he somehow managed to fish out a 1,033-pound hammerhead shark. What's even more impressive is that it took McClellan nearly 6 hours of relentless effort to haul the massive creature to shore, testing not only his patience but also his physical endurance. Back in 1980, Mark Johnson achieved the same feat, dragging in an 871-pound hammerhead and making a record that stood for the next 37 years. Tim's hammerhead was not only huge but also appeared to be an incredibly old and experienced predator, judging by its size and wear. Then McClellan just absolutely smashed the record into a million pieces and took the crown for himself. Not bad, man. Apparently, this event is a hot spot for shark catches. Just a week before McClellan's big victory, Sergio Rock managed to pull in a 946-pound tiger shark. It took him 3 hours to actually, reel it in, but he eventually did it. Man, imagine the upper arm strength that must take. I need to hit the gym. Number 13. Giant basking shark. Imagine the scene. You're out with your friends enjoying a spot of fishing off the coast of southern Australia. It's a nice day. You have some beers, post an unpopular opinion to Reddit, but then you catch something and you reel it in and it's a 40-foot basking shark. Imagine that. These fishermen never intended to catch a shark, let alone one so massive, but it turns out their find had a positive impact. They allowed scientists to study the second biggest fish on the planet because, Wouldn't you know it, the basking shark is not an easy animal to capture or observe in the wild. The sheer size of the shark meant that the fishermen had to call in reinforcements just to haul it aboard, leading to quite the spectacle at the docks. In fact, barely anything is known about it because the species doesn't ever need to surface for air to survive. The shark was in remarkably good health despite its massive size, which fascinated the scientists, who were eager to understand how this gentle giant thrived in the deep ocean. But now scientists can fully observe the creature and research its genetics, diet, and general life history. And even better, the scientists don't have to worry about becoming shark food. Not only are basking sharks slow-moving plankton feeders, but they also have teeny tiny teeth, so a bite from one of these guys probably wouldn't hurt too much. Well, it would, but they're scientists, so they'd probably see it as an opportunity to study shark bites or something. Number 12. Huge great white shark netted in Mexico. It's not often that a fisherman with a big fish story actually brings that big fish home. However, in 2012, 2 fishermen in Mexico brought home a whopper, and it was basically all completely by accident. Out doing some regular-sized fishing in the Sea of Cortez, these fishermen were hauling in their nets when they were shocked to discover an absolutely massive great white shark instead of a load of smaller fish. The unfortunate beast was already dead when the fishermen hauled in their net, so they had to figure out a way to get this monster catch back to the shore. The shark measured almost 20 feet long, weighing an estimated 2,000 pounds, so there was no way to haul it on board their little fishing boat. Eventually, they decided to tow the mighty beast back to land, and that's where they were met by astonished locals in the coastal village, who were more than happy to assist with the big job of eating the enormous shark. They must have been eating leftovers for weeks. Just look at the size of it. Number 11. Fishermen catching 1,300-pound mako shark, scariest thing ever. The macabre sight of a huge 1,300-pound mako shark strung up by its tail is the ultimate result for a group of shark fishermen from Huntington Beach, Los Angeles. These guys get together for a spot of shark fishing about 20 days a year, and sometimes they actually get lucky. Sometimes the shark gets luckier. On one particular day in 2013, they took a boat out into the waters off the California coast and sprinkled some of what they call their secret sauce onto the surface. This sauce consists of the shark-enticing combination of chopped up mackerel and ground chum. Delicious. Fairly quickly, there was an interesting customer. A whopping great big mako shark was circling, looking for some tasty treats. The fishermen then hooked the shark and spent 2.5 hours wrestling the colossal creature in order to bring it onto their boat. Johnston, the boat's captain, said of the experience, "It's the scariest thing I've ever done in my life." Well, you just gotta wonder how the shark felt about it. Number 10. Huge shark seen leaping from the water off Devon coast. Sharks off the UK coast are not really that common of a sight, so when an 8-foot thresher shark turned up in the waters of Torbay, it got the locals a little bit gossiping. Torbay and Devon, on the south coast of England, is a holiday hotspot full of paddling toddlers, pleasure boats, and a shark? Well, that's not generally considered the best thing to combine with vacationing families and rubber dinghies. I mean, we've all seen Jaws, right? The big thresher shark was first spotted by a tour boat that was out with a group looking for a cuter sea creature like a seal or a dolphin. And boy, did they spot some. It was the dolphin's bizarre behavior at first that would alert the group to the shark. It was then that the thresher would leap out of the water, making sure that it got in on the visitors' holiday snaps too. You can't have the dolphins stealing the whole show. Turns out, though, that although they do look a bit scary, threshers are actually no threat to humans, so the people of Devon don't need to worry about a Jaws-style summer just yet. Number 9. Huge great white shark circling kayaker 5,000 feet from shore. There are a lot of sharks in Australia, that's a fact. Here's yet another great white shark doing a spot of investigation near a very nervous human. Kayaking in shark-infested waters may seem a tad bananas, but it does get you some good video footage, if you survive, that is. Matthew Smith was fishing in a kayak about a mile off the coast of Blackhead Beach in New South Wales, Australia, when a shadowy figure began to approach. The fisherman was being filmed from the sky by a friend who was using a camera drone and watching on helplessly as the 13-foot great white shark swam toward Smith in the tiny kayak. It was at that moment that a terrified Smith really thought that he was about to meet his maker. A nosy great white shark circling your flimsy boat? Well, that's never a good sign. Uttering some fruitier language, the petrified fisherman didn't know what to do. He even just tells the shark to go away, and perhaps that worked. I mean, how often do people think to ask a shark to simply cease and desist? Perhaps it was the sound of the drone flying overhead that put off the giant predator, or perhaps he just realized it was a boring boat and a very not tasty human, and then went off in search of a proper lunch. Whatever it was that sent the shark off elsewhere, fortune was certainly smiling on Smith that day, and he has the awesome video of his close encounter to prove it. Number 8. Muhammad's whale shark. Would you get in a fight with the police over a fish you caught? Many fishermen would immediately say yes to this because, hey, this is their life. But the rest of us? Well, no, we would have no need and no interest in fighting with the police over a salmon or something. What about a shark? Mohammed the Laver and his crew were fishing in the Arabian Sea when their nets happened to catch a giant 45-foot fish. That fish was, of course, a whale shark. It took them 3.5 hours to get the shark out of the water. And get this, it weighed approximately 20 tons. How much do you lift, bro? Mohammed had high hopes that the catch would change his life, possibly bringing in a lot of money from curious tourists or hopefully somebody looking to purchase the shark itself. Sadly, that didn't happen. I mean, somebody did buy the shark, but they didn't fork over a whole lot of money. In fact, Mohammed pretty much made enough to cover the cost of the 12-day trip. And the new owner of the fish? He was the one who strongly disagreed with the police over how to protect the shark. To add to the tension, the authorities wanted to take the shark for scientific research, which angered the new owner even more. The argument escalated into chaos, with punches being thrown over the fate of the massive fish. At one point, bystanders even started getting involved, taking sides in the brawl. Eventually, he got into a fistfight with them. Hey, sharks will do crazy things to a man. Number 7. Caught on camera. Ancient Greenland sharks. Slow-moving Greenland sharks are rarely captured on film because they prefer the cold, deep waters of North Atlantic and Arctic regions, so they don't land in people's boats like the more infamous sharks out there in the warmer waters. However, these big guys are truly extraordinary. First of all, the Greenland shark is massive. These creatures can reach lengths of up to 24 feet, weighing as much as 3,100 pounds. The sizes are bigger than any of the other sharks we've encountered so far, even the biggest of all great whites. Truly an apex predator, the Greenland shark will eat mostly fish but has been known to indulge in the odd seal, moose, or even polar bear. Perhaps one of the most incredible things about the shark is how long they can live. They have the longest lifespan of any vertebrate, living for between 300 and 500 years. In fact, a study of the species in 2016 discovered a shark that had been born between 1504 and 1744, and that is just mind-blowing. A shark that may have been born when Michelangelo was painting the Sistine Chapel is still alive and swimming today. No wonder these sharks move so slow. They have all the time in the world. Number 6. Huge shark that barely fits into Fisherman's Boat ignites controversy. Tiger sharks are common enough in the waters around Australia that fishermen are actually allowed to keep a tiger shark in their daily catch. That fact, however, doesn't stop people from expressing concern and even outrage when images begin to emerge of the massive tiger shark squeezed into a tiny fishing boat. Tiger sharks are now considered to be near endangered and on the IUCN's red list. But despite a decrease in their numbers that's estimated to be 74% lower than 50 years ago, they're not at risk enough to warrant the protection of Australian law. This 870-pound catch of the day looked to be a sorry sight as the fishermen steered their boat back to harbour in Sydney. It caused quite the hoo-ha when people took umbrage with the men's apparent carelessness over their catch. The debate would rage on with all kinds of discussion about the fate of the shark. The New South Wales Game Fishing Association would poke there or in as well, saying that they are not out there just to murder everything that's in the water. Those guys have only taken one fish, and while that may be true, it still sucks to be that one fish. Number 5. Great white shark with surfers. This insane drone footage shows a bunch of surfers just casually paddling around, while a gigantic great white shark swims around them, sizing them up. It is pretty chilling stuff. Captured from the sky over the waters of Cape Town at the southern tip of South Africa, this unique footage has been used by local authorities to warn surfers and swimmers of the shark dangers that exist there. Well known for shark activity, Plettenberg Bay is often witness to sharks on the hunt for seals and fish nearby. Although the scary footage shows a shark coming very close to people in the water, it's not actually displaying any kind of particularly aggressive behavior. It just seems to be investigating the scene. There are things that surfers and swimmers can do to lessen their chances of a dangerous interaction with these huge predators. Advice includes using a personal shark shield, which is a device that produces an electromagnetic field that puts sharks off, also avoiding areas where there's fishing, and staying in groups. Like we've already heard, sharks are not all that likely to attack humans, and when they do, they're just tasting whether it's the sort of prey they're looking for. Even so, it is a risky business sharing any waters with one of these toothsome terrors. Well, that was a terrifying paddle through the pointy-toothed world of shark encounters. I'm off to sell my kayak and my oceanfront property and never go in the water again. Number 4. The first great white shark ever caught off Navarre Beach. Fishing off a pier on Navarre Beach is not where you'd usually expect to catch anything much more than a tiddler, but the True Blue fishing team managed to snag themselves a huge 10-foot-long great white shark that weighed about 650 pounds. The fishermen caught the mighty creature off the Navarre Beach fishing pier in Florida, and it took them over an hour and a half to reel it in. When they realized just exactly what they had on the line, the amazed fishermen then went about tagging the shark so that it could be monitored and more could be learned about the massive fish and their habits. During the intense struggle, onlookers gathered around, shocked to witness such an incredible catch right off the pier. As the fight continued, the team had to constantly adjust their strategy to prevent the shark from breaking free. When wrestling the shark onto shore to measure and record it, these brave or perhaps bonkers people can be seen getting just a little too close for comfort. At one point, the massive predator thrashed around, reminding everyone how dangerous such a creature could be up close. All was well in the end, though, and the shark was then released back into the Gulf of Mexico unharmed. The fisherman also had one heck of a big fish story to tell. Number 3. Megamouth shark. Unless you're deep into the world of obscure sharks, you'll probably never have heard of the megamouth. Turns out you should be pretty thankful for that. After all, these sharks are no joke. They're huge, they're intimidating, and they tend to just eat a lot. The megamouth shark can weigh up to 2,700 pounds, but it's actually the smallest of its group, the filter feeders. As it turns out, the reason for the shark's name has everything to do with the way and the amount that it eats. This shark is a filter feeder, meaning it swims with its mouth constantly wide open, gulping down the plankton that it happens to encounter. And given that they live as deep as 15,000 feet below the surface, you can bet that there's a heck of a lot of plankton. But living that deep also means that scientists very rarely see them in the wild. In fact, less than 60 have been captured or observed by scientists. To make things even more mysterious, megamouth sharks have bioluminescent organs inside their mouths, which may help attract prey in the dark. Their massive mouths can span over 4 feet wide, making them incredibly efficient at catching food. They're also surprisingly slow swimmers, relying on their wide-open mouths to do most of the work while they glide through the deep ocean. Impressive, given how big it is. Although when you take a look at the shark, you kind of have to ask yourself the question, would you want to see this thing in the darkness of the deep sea? I don't think so. Hard pass for me. Number 2. 12-foot great white shark caught off Hilton Head Island. Hilton Head Island in South Carolina is home to a man known locally as the Shark Whisperer. Chip Michelove, as he also goes by, caught an encounter with a huge 12-foot great white shark on film while fishing at a new spot a couple of miles off the coast of Hilton Head. Chip wasn't holding out a lot of hope for a big catch, but how wrong he actually turned out to be when suddenly the biggest shark of the season popped up. Chip and his buddy Pavel worked together to reel in the beast, and the 30-minute effort was made a little bit trickier as Pavel actually had an injury, so he was only able to use one of his arms. There they were, a 3-armed crew, wrestling the biggest catch of the year, a 1,000-pound great white shark. The men recorded and photographed the creature, who appeared to have had a little bit of a run-in with a seal and was sporting some fairly robust scratches on its head. They tagged it and then released it back into the ocean. The shark now wears 2 tags, one that records the distance and route that it takes, and another which is like a sensor that's going to set off an alarm if it comes too close to the beach. There are many places along the coast that have receivers to pick up the warning, so this shark's days of sneaking up are over. Party poopers. Number 1. 6-gill shark. When your job consists of traveling around the world and capturing footage of animals in their natural habitat, you have to expect the unexpected. Welcome to the world of BBC documentary crews. They're pretty much just constantly preparing to be ambushed. But this one was especially frightening. This film crew was shooting footage for the epic series Blue Planet 2, following a whale carcass as it descended over 2,200 feet below the ocean's surface. And it was okay for a while, but after about an hour, things got a little bit scary for the crew member. The carcass quickly became the focus of an intense feeding frenzy among a group of 6-gill sharks. And here, in the complete darkness of the deep ocean, was a crew of humans surrounded by sharks the size of cars. As the filmmakers described, the plumes of blood coupled with the submarine's lights turned the water a dark red. I think we can all imagine how terrifyingly unnerving this kind of scene would be. As if being trapped inside a metal box thousands of feet below the surface isn't scary enough. Now you have to deal with the threat of actual predators lingering around. And to make it worse, you can't even see them. Pretty sure I had a nightmare like that once. Do you have a favorite shark? Did it make our list? Let us know in the comments. Also, be sure to check out our other cool content appearing on screen right now. See you next time.